98. 93.
Guys, how you doing? You know, we're all feeling a little cooped up. We've got a bit of cabin fever right about now, but this is the perfect time to get a little dry fire training in. You know, dry fire will help you keep those perishable skills sharp, your trigger press, your mechanics. I train with my Mantis X10 every morning. Now, people are always asking me, now, doesn't dry fire training hurt your gun? Well, we're going to talk a little more about that. Stay tuned. I'm a big fan of dry fire training. Dry fire training will allow you to do any drill that you could do live fire, short of, you know, recoil control, but you don't have to spend money on ammo. You don't have to drive to the range. You can do it at your home. I do it every morning in my living room. I often have people ask me, well, isn't dry fire, you know, bad for my gun? Well, depends on the gun. This particular gun is a 22 rimfire. I would not recommend that you dry fire a rimfire gun with nothing in the chamber. The reason for this is that the priming mixture on a rimfire cartridge is around the rim of the brass casing. The firing pin on the gun falls directly on the edge of that casing. Now, if you're dry firing it with nothing in the chamber, the firing pin's going to hit the edge of the chamber. The firing pin tends to be made out of harder steel than the chamber itself, so it's going to peen the edge of that, and over time you are going to have a problem with the gun. Now, the way to get around that is to use a snap cap. Snap caps are basically dummy rounds. It gives the firing pin something to land on other than the edge of the chamber. So all you need to do is get a few snap caps, load them in there, and you can shoot, and you're not going to hurt a rimfire gun. Okay. Then we go to the center fire pistols, and this works on rifles too, but I'm concentrating mainly on handguns here. The center fire, the primer is in the center of the cartridge. So if there is not a cartridge in the chamber, that firing pin doesn't hit anything. Okay, it's not going to hurt it. I have had a gunsmith tell me that if you break a firing pin dry firing, you would have broken that firing pin live firing. Okay. I've shot thousands of rounds dry fire. I've never broken a firing pin. All right. The one center fire pistol that I would make an exception to that statement is like the old single action Colts and things that had the firing pin built onto the hammer. If you'll know them if you see them, because there's like a triangular pointed piece sticking forward on the hammer, and that's actually what they used for a firing pin. Now, if you fire that with nothing in the chamber, the neck of the hammer slams into the frame each time because it's not being stopped by the firing pin hitting the primer. So over time you could break that hammer. And even though you can get hammer assemblies for those old Colts, it can get kind of pricey. So again, there I would buy a snap cap that is in the caliber of the gun that you're shooting, and just shoot snap caps through it. Okay, but on a modern semi-auto center fire gun, you can fire this thing dry fire, and it's not going to hurt it. Okay, like I said earlier on, I shoot this every day. I have a Mantis X unit that slides on the rail. This not only I can dry fire the gun, but this also gives me a score for accuracy. It also has on my smartphone, it'll show me a graph of the actual motion I made with the gun. So they're kind of a neat and very helpful training aid that you can use in dry firing. They also work in live fire. If you're interested in knowing more about the Mantis, I'll put a link in the down below. But yeah, I think once you start dry firing, you'll realize that A, it lets you train more, it doesn't cost you as much money, and you will see improvement.